We actually got a good PvE mode. Summoners, we're going to talk unit selection, team building, game mechanics, tier lists, tips, and of course case studies. Let's get into SEER'S SNARE. Let's hit the reason we play this game, and that is the units. So, first up, bonus titles are big in this. Not only do you get an extra slot, which later in the game means a ton having that extra skill on there, making your unit even more powerful, but those bonus titles also get HP plus 10 and an Omni plus 4 to all stats. That is huge. When you're looking at powerful units though, you need to really pay attention to weapons, specials, and assists, and you want them to be preference if you can. Those are all things that you get to keep throughout the game no matter what, and so it increases the value even more. An example is Legendary Robin and the grand strategy he gives through his preference weapon. It is astounding how good that is. Now, don't forget you do not start with your base kit and you only get it at random, so you never know what exactly is going to pop up. Keep that in mind for units that require save to really function. Armors are a big case for this. There are no duo or harmonic skills in this game, which is nutty that they're actually admitting that those are busted. The last thing here is use your favorites. Now, don't necessarily use an entire team of your favorites, but if you wanted to work a favorite in and build a team around them, this game mode is very, very malleable and lets you do that kind of thing. Let's talk about the individual titles though. There are a lot of good units throughout here to use as your bonus units. Just some highlights though. For just Fire Emblem, we talk about Ymir and the passive healing. Eitri has built-in Kanto. Any unit that has some kind of special thing in their preference weapon is absolutely phenomenal. We've got Brave Marth here, and Kadean Lin is amazing. Brave Alm, pretty much any of the Brave units. I mean, they just have they have so much in that preference weapon that they are very good to use and absolutely fantastic. We've got Seliph up here. Nana. The nice thing about the harmonic units, I will say, although you can't use the harmonic skill, is that they can go for different games. So you've got Leaf, you've got Elamine. I can't say enough good things about Triangle Attack or Dual Strike. It is amazing, and Katria is someone to look for. Ninian is the best dancer in the game because she can also attack and refreshes herself. That unit is fantastic. Sacred Stones is one of our weaker ones, but I do really like Flame Peony, and actually Duo Ephraim, because of his refine, is fairly good. Last, just to quickly go through, Altina, of course, is amazing. Alencia, with any of the preference weapon stabs, the newer ones are phenomenal in this, but Yoon is a good unit as well. In Awakening, all of the Chroms. Any of those Change Fate units are absolutely fantastic. We already talked about Cordelia. Robin might be one of the best units in the game. Awakening is very strong in this mode. As far as Fates, you've got Elise with that staff. Xander actually is an excellent unit as well, and you can even use Camilla. You have to watch out just a little bit about the true defense that units get. We'll get to that in just a second. As far as three houses, I mean, we've got Felix and Dimitri, both who are just fantastic. But if you want to just demolish things, do you get better than Shez? TMS is probably the weakest of this batch, but that's more because, the last time we got a TMS banner was years ago. Itsuki is definitely usable though, and a fun unit. We've got Alir and Celine, who are both good, but yes, give us more engage units. Anyway, that's just a quick overview. Keep in mind, these are just suggestions, things to get the gears turning, different things to look for. And yeah, all of these units are fantastic. Let's talk about a sample team though. Now, what I'm finding is there are really two ways to go, and then there are different variants of that. And you've got the enemy phase team and the player phase team. Now, the first one I've got up here with a dancer. You can either use a dancer or a refresher. We'll talk about the difference in just a second. What I have to say is, if you are using an enemy phase tank like Dimitri, you need to be able to have a unit that takes out his biggest counter, which in this mode is greens. So you really need to pair him with a red nuke. In this case, I mean, Lynn is just fantastic and goes so well with him. You've got your healer and your dancer. The other thing that this does, you can see the dancer being Hatari Zora actually gives you a green unit on here. And because of the extra damage and defense you get, actually, this Hatari Azura does very well versus blues. Elamine giving out damage reduction is just fantastic, and yeah, that's more of the enemy phase strategy though, and you can see that is used with a dancer. I like that just because it gives me a little more flexibility and ways to get my nuke out after they go in and snipe the green unit that is sitting there waiting to take out my Dimitri. The next is the Refresher team, and this is more inspired by Summoner Duels, if you think of it that way. I absolutely love Katria or Cordelia in these roles. The orders buff that they give is phenomenal. I also have guidance 4 on them, but again, any of those skills is something that you have to rely on RNG for, so you have to watch out for that. As far as refreshers, there is a long list of Chroms, and I guess Lucinas as well, that you can use in this role. My favorite is Duo Chrom because getting that cooldown reduction is so good. Healers, Maria is probably the top one right now, but understand that role can be swapped in and out. I do prefer my healers to be able to destroy things. I know we had Elamine in the other team, and she's kind of the exception, but I'm a huge fan of Maria and the way she is able to go in and just punch holes through things. Understand that any healer that doesn't have Wrathful in their staff, so they have Dazzling instead, like Maria, you kind of have to wait till you inherit that until they are a unit that is decent. So just keep that in mind as you're going through. The last one here, Robin is just absolutely amazing. But really, in this kind of team, again, this is built a lot like Summoner Duels, any of those supportive nukes are very good in this role. I just happen to like the way this color sharing went, especially with the bonus units, because that Refresher team is all bonus units. So keep that in mind. You don't actually need a dancer. A Refresher normally does the job for you just fine. Let's talk just a little bit about skills before we go on. One of the main things is all of these skills that aren't included in here. And no seals, absolutely no seals, so you don't get Phantom Res, for instance. But any of the skills with stat comparisons, they've taken out, which is interesting. That includes boosts, sabotages. Close Call here is something that they took out because of any of the movement modifiers. So knockback, anything like that is removed. But you've also got ploys in here. All of the ARD skills are gone. Any of the skills that help you earn SP, which is a good thing because you can't earn it anyway, gone. Live for bounty, I know you guys are hurt, gone. There are no saves unless you bring them as a preference weapon. That's the other thing. It's important to note that any unusable skills aren't included when you win a match, so you won't get cav skills on an all-infantry team. This is an interesting strategy you can take, though. If you wanted to make an all-infantry team, you're guaranteed to have better skills just because you are having more skills towards your individual folks. Something to think about, the problem there is you can't take advantage of tactics, which are everywhere and are easy way to give your team buffs. So pluses and minuses. Just a reminder that your kit is randomly unlocked, and that happens usually every raid boss, but there are little spots in between, and also you can buy in the Veneer Seal some unlocks as well. Just know that total RNG, you never know what you're gonna get, and don't try the trick where you just unequip all of your skills that you don't want, because IS randomly fills them in. So just keep that in mind. We already talked about weapons, specials, and assists starting unlocked and how critical that is. It's just something to note with your skills and to know that they won't be showing up in your random hits. All right, Summoners, so we're just gonna go quickly through one of these. Okay, we talked a little bit about color advantage. The unit that I'm worried about there is Alphonse, and that's about it. So what we can do is just set this up. Where Alphonse can't reach, and then get everyone else out of the way. Coming in hot, that unit goes down easy, and it's important to remember that this is on easy. Team is done. Very quick like that. And you can see that this does go very quick. Now, I'm going to look at all of these, and because I chose beginner and more because it's at the beginning of the match there, we've got some fairly low level things that I'm not just a huge fan of. So I'm going to take the one with the highest rift vessels, and I'm going to move on. You can then go in through your skills like we just talked about. I want you to have this because I have no other good A skill for you. And this isn't great either, but we'll go ahead and give her that one because we have no one else to give it to. Okay, so green enemy right there is the one we want to take out. And we're going to try to do this such that we can repo Lind back. There you go. And once Henry is off the board at this level, Brave Dimitri just takes care of business. There's really nothing that he fears. And we're going to get back in formation here so that everyone gets all of the different buffs. And we finish Lin off. So one of the things with these skills, and this is a very important thing to note, you'll notice the quality of the skills we get versus soon what we're going to go into with the quality of skills we buy is totally different, like different playing field altogether. And that's why these Rift Vessels are so important, and one of the reasons that I'm prioritizing them so much. Now that'll change as we go on. Obviously, you're going to get better skills in as you defeat maps, but yeah, like the best thing we got here, actually Infantry Speed Tactic is kind of nice, but we already have something like that, and I really want the Rift Vessels, so we're going for that. Veneer Seal, and this is really what I wanted to talk about. You can see the random slot unlock is very expensive, and it's random. Like, there are literally 12 opportunities for you to get something, and we don't know what that is. But you can continue on, and you can get as many of these into your shopping bag as you can afford, which we don't want to do for different reasons that we'll talk about. But one of the things that you want to make sure you realize is this takes the place of one of your matches. So instead of going into a match and earning Rift Vessels and other skills, you are going in here and getting this unlocked. And we're just going to do the random slot unlock just to show you guys what it looks like. Yeah, so we got Speed Res Far Trace, which is actually very good. So we have it on Azura now, so whenever we can dance, we can back out, which is fantastic. All right, next up is the dreaded raid boss, and we're going to go in on the advanced level as opposed to the intermediate. This is the one that everyone is having trouble with. Again, what we're talking about here, the big problem that we have is Dimitri. Sorry, Dimitri, is the red, or the green that's going to attack Dimitri. So as many of these units we can take out, we are happy. I think that's what we want, and this gives us, this lets us actually take out 2 at a time. We'll dance there. We've got all of those extra stats so that Dimitri actually has 30 res. Let's end turn and see how we fare. Oh, the preference weapon that Crit is using is an exact example of what is tough about using units in this. If they've got a good preference weapon, that means they are easy to use and you can come in here and do a ton with them. Dimitri's the same thing. It's not the same with all of these other folks. All right, now we've got 4 units and not quite that many people because I don't think Elamine's going to be able to take out anybody. So this should be interesting. But, oh, that Hrid is just killing me. Let's try this. We'll go in, smack Lewin, because he is the only one that can actually do damage.
Looks like it's my turn.
We can move you out of the way.
We will not falter.
And the problem here now is you are going to try to jump and kill my Lind. So we're going to try to give you some damage reduction, and it will be interesting. First off, we've got to take out Ilgr though with all of those debuffs and the crazy thing that the preference weapon is giving. I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record by the end of this, but that's okay. And yes, it would be absolutely fantastic if we could use Azura's skill right there, but we can't. Are we going to make it? I'm not even sure. Looks like we do. Speed. Speed is amazing, right? So this is built off of a roguelike platform. And one of the things that roguelike games need is permadeath. And that permadeath is the one unit killed, game over. Okay, and there we have our big unlock, which is random slot unlock and a whole bunch of different things that you can use. For me, I'm going to pick, let's see, attack defense clash is pretty amazing. I'm not going to use attack res solo. Actually, I probably will use attack res solo more than any of these others. So I'll confirm, accept, and we got remote sparrow, which is fantastic. Summoners, that's about how the skills are going to lay out. Like, you're going to continue through and fill this out. You can see the difference, though, in how many skills you're going to be able to put on Lind versus Dimitri. And having that extra slot where I can put anything there, any random A skill that I get. So if I wanted both a finish skill and a stance 4, Dimitri would be able to do that in his bonus season, which is phenomenal. Yeah, there is something I don't like about this, and that's the fact that I can never remember which positional I have on there. So I have to go in and check. But it's a light complaint. And Summoners, I'm a big fan of the way they do these skills and the way you are building up your Uber unit. All right, let's get in and just talk about the individual mechanics and what this game is about. We can't skip rewards because they're rewards. And these are actually fairly nice. So this is including everything, including as you're doing this daily and your tiers. So all in all, you're getting 18 orbs, 120 ephemera, 140 flowers, and I'm assuming that'll change through 12,000 feathers, and then assorted other things. This is... particularly the 18 orbs is pretty nice. If you think about Tempest Trials being the biggest orb earner and that being around 40, yeah, I will take this, especially for how much fun the mode is. So I'm a fan. They did a good job with this. Let's talk about the currency and what's going on here, because this is kind of an interesting thing that's going on. We are looking at stamina, and stamina is the big currency you want to pay attention to right this second. At the very beginning, and each day, your stamina, that blue stamina here, is going to refresh by 5. You are starting off with 5 of the green stamina, and you're limited at 99. Now, I want to talk about that in regards to Unwind, even though we're going to talk about Unwind here in a little bit. Understand that I am going, as an example, I'm going all the way through, I'm getting right to the very end, and I want to start over. Once I start over, the 10 stamina, so the 5 that I got to start the day and the 5 I got in the green bank, this is day 1 that I'm looking at right here, all goes back into the green stamina pool. So I unwind and I get 10 green stamina. What that means is every day as you collect that 5 additional stamina, as long as you're using it, then you don't lose it ever. So at the very end of this 9 days, you'll be able to unwind, go all the way back, and have, I'm live mathing it now, but you'll have a lot of it. It should be about 50 stamina, which is really fantastic and lets you do a lot of fun things. And yeah, if you, anyway, it lets you do a lot of things, lets you replay at will, which is fun. It'll take about 30 stamina to get all the way through, so you have extra there for, in case you miss a day, I don't know. The last thing I want to talk about is the our rift vessels here, this little time turner looking thing. That is the way you buy skills, and we already looked at it. Bought skills are worth so much more than random skills you get, because you can actually pick them, obviously. So whenever these veneer seals come in, you can come in and use these on them, and they are fantastic. Once you rewind, you only take 20% of your rift vessels that go back with you. But understand what that means, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but you can farm. Like, you can keep going through, keeping your 20% and keep increasing your rift vessel amount. Let's talk about blocks though. All right, we are color coded here. We've got the really fancy ones with the gold trim. The purple are the advanced boss battles and the red are the intermediate boss battles. They are divided into those 2 levels. We've got safe havens, which are green. I'm going to talk about why I don't like those. Veneer seals, which are, it looks like Rainbow Road from Mario Kart. That's what I keep thinking. And then you've got the normal battles, which are divided into beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So blue is the beginner, red is the intermediate, purple is the advanced. The letters on there, the ABC, points out which skill you're going to get from that. So which skill family. You'll only get A skills if they're marked A. Let's move into normal battle. We just talked about that, and you'll get a mix of whatever map they draw out of their random pool. Often you get a random slot unlocked from this, and that's fun. They are labeled with your skill. We talked about that, and you get rift seals. Rift seals are the most important things because they're the currency you use to buy stuff. Next up, we have veneer seals. This is where you can exchange items. Now, the important thing we talked about is to know that this takes up a spot down your path. So if you're not ready to buy anything, this is actually to your detriment. What's going to go on is instead of earning on a map, potentially earning on another map, you're going to this rift vessel exchange, and we've talked about all this other stuff. It is important to plan your route around these because there are certain times when you'll definitely want to use these. Just like I said, know that you won't always want to use them. Next up is the boss battle, and we already talked about that. Victory, and I'm showing a little screenshot of the victory here. The team slot unlock is the biggest thing, and having another row is fantastic to get more skills and pile more things on your unit to create your Uber unit. Other than that, you get your rift seals, a save spot. So when you unwind, you have different spots you can go back to. You can go back to mini boss battles, or you can go back to the very beginning. And then of course, you get skills. So those are nice. Next up, we have my least favorite are these safe havens. And the reason is they aren't buying you anything. This is a good thing if you need to just skip a battle, because that is what it'll do. It heals HP, and it it means you're not earning anything that time. So I take these at your risk. I'm not a huge fan, but if you are just absolutely decimated and have no HP, you should have brought a healer. But that's neither here nor there. There will probably come a time where this happens and you'll really need the safe haven seals. The next thing we want to talk about, though, is the biggest change to this. And what I've got up here is the original color triangle. And this is the new color triangle, which of course has to be more complicated because each year has to be more complicated with Fae. Look at this thing. Now, I've tried to break this down into several symbols. We've got the 20% of attack, true damage. Now, that is the unit that's attacking. That's 20% of their attack. And then we have the flat damage of 20%, and this is whatever foe is attacking into you. Their attack is the basis for that 20%, which is kind of fantastic if you think about it. And then you have AoE damage reduction of 80%, which is pretty much what Gato gives you. So you can see as this works, if a green unit is attacking into a blue unit, the green unit gets 20% true damage based on the green attack, gets 20% flat damage reduction based off of the blue unit, and then obviously in this case AoE doesn't apply, but if the blue unit was attacking into the green unit with an AoE, you'd get the 80% reduction. That is on top of the normal 20% that green normally gets over blue, which can really stack up. The confusing part comes when we talk about colorless. Now, when one of these RGB folks attacks into a colorless unit, regardless, you get 20% damage, and that's great. When a colorless unit attacks into one of the RGB folks, they get 10% true damage based on their attack. When a colorless foe attacks another colorless foe is when things get really weird, and you can see they've broken this out into foes and allies. Your colorless unit does not get a bonus versus the AI's colorless unit. They, however, get 40% true damage. The AoE reduction and 40% flat damage based on whatever your attack is. Summoners, that is huge and means you are generally not going to be using one of your colorless units to attack one of the AI's colorless units. Just keep that in mind as we're going through. You're going to see some examples of that as we go through gameplay. Now, I want to just play some games here and look at some different things. In particular, yeah, now see, that's more like it. And this is more of a built-up unit. So this is closer to what you're going to see as the game progresses. And normally a Hrid versus Robin would be no issue, even without any skills. Like this would be it, right? And instead, Hrid comes in and just absolutely smacks this poor boy. So our time traveler is doing its job there. You can see with the lower level units though, that just isn't the case. Like Gen 1 Sophia, it's not working, and all of that great stuff. We can look at, 19 times 4, and Hinoka gets, I don't know, summoners. What do you do? Anyway, so, where are we? We're restarting the turn. Let's look at one more thing, and let's look at Ilger versus Crom, because why not? Now, and you can see that does that does do nicely. If we actually go and look at the combat animations, I keep on dual strike and yeah, ouch. Dual strike is a thing. Okay, we talked about how we got this last time. Actually, we didn't. I've done this so many times now, I forget what I've talked about and what I haven't. So, Ilger goes down with Robin, and this is what I was talking about with refreshers and how amazing they are. I can simply pull back here, drag you back, and all we've got to go against there is Sophia, and we've already seen that the Sophia matchup is definitely in our favor. Even when Hrid comes in with the crazy guard thing that's just annoying. All right, Crom comes back with Ruptured Sky, and Sophia goes Kersplat. Now we only have 3 units. So I guess meta-slaving does pay off. There's probably a lesson or 2 in there somewhere. This is probably the optimal team for this round, just period. And you can see even through color disadvantage and everything else, that 19 defense just cannot stand up to Cordelia. Fantastic unit, and you saw the Gale Force coming in there. It's not going to be for every unit because you're going to want to have as much damage as possible, just to be frank. It is that kind of mode. But there we go. So you saw a little bit of the triangle advantage there, and you saw that it's going to come up in different ways. For the very built-up units is where it's really going to shine through, and you're going to want to plan around your bosses. Like that is, for this one, our 2 bosses are both red. Oh, nice. So we've got the Wonder Boy Hrid there, and we've got Roy, who's also very hard to kill, and we'll see in just a second. But that's the kind of thing we're going to be going up against. You want to have some sort of strong blue or a strong red to be able to take them on. You don't want your main tank in this particular case to be green unless you have some way to counter those 2 very powerful units. Now, this is only in the first 10 levels of the Rift. We'll see what else they bring in, what are the colors, but just keep in mind you want to be versatile. The last thing we want to talk about in this section is just unwind time and the stamina replenished. We talked about that and how all of it goes into the green stamina and you don't lose any, which is fantastic for replayability. It makes the player base in general feel so much less frustrated, and it is a fantastic addition to this game. Hats off to you, IS, you did good there. You get to retain 20% of your Rift Vessels, which again you can actually farm and keep going and slowly store them up. And you can change your units if you reroll. You just saw the second team I'm using here. One of the fun things you could do is actually build up a whole bunch of Rift Vessels and then come back with a ask your trio team and just deck them out and see if you can actually win. But you do lose all of your skills. You go back to one of 2 checkpoints, either a sub-boss or to the beginning. All right, it's time for tier list and tips. The biggest thing we want to talk about here, the biggest change for this mode is the return of healers. And I just wanted an example build of what you're looking for. Any of the positional heal assists are going to be huge on your healer and very important. So keep that in mind. One of them was in the codes. I don't remember if we got a second one in this round, but any unit that has that is very valuable. I've got Imbue up here just because I'm looking more at a budget build here, and Imbue heals everyone, which is fantastic. If you've got Lights Restraint or the other one that I'm just blanking on the name, understand that's really good too. Passive healing in general, in any way you can get it, is phenomenal. So keep that in mind. The odd recovery, the even recovery skills are fantastic. Your preferred staff is just essential. I know, like, I want to be able to use my old school Nana, and you probably can in some way, but it is going to be so much easier if you have a unit with a preferred staff, particularly the Gen 7 healers are phenomenal in this mode. And then of course Razzle Dazzle, because it is so nice to have in all of this. It's just absolutely fantastic. Tier lists. This is what you've all been waiting for, right? I want to divide this up. There's 2 different things that's going on here. The first I want to say is I think it is very valuable to have a healer that can attack. And the newer ones that have just came out, Maria, Elise, and Alencia are phenomenal at attacking, have kits that are already there and made for you, and support your team in some way. So understand these are very, very good units. Elamine is up there just because I think the damage reduction she gives is so good. I have her above Flame just because of all the additional things she gives with False Start and the buffs, but understand Flame is very good as well. When we bump down, we start talking about units that do well, we've got a few units here that do multiple things. Emir is absolutely fantastic because she can attack and because she does well at that, and because she has the passive healing every time she does an assist. If you need a dancer that also does healing, the Rayson and Leanne are just absolutely phenomenal and are units that you'll want on your team if you've got them already built up. And any unit that can fulfill 2 roles, as in any other mode in this game, phenomenal. We've already talked about Flame. We've already talked about Marianne. Well, we didn't actually talk about Marianne. Marianne is another fantastic unit. Just remember, you can't use her duo skill. Flame is good. Fjorm is excellent, and if you need to stop a dancer from going, or any kind of positional skill, obviously she's still good in this mode. Just understand, like, lower portion of tier 1, because that's so much less a part of what's going on in this mode. Next up, we have young La Rochelle, and being able to freeze units out is absolutely fantastic. We've got some passive healers here in the airs, and both of them are very good. Understand air, the OG air heals more off of Sparkling Boost Plus than the Ascendant air does. Celine is phenomenal and heals in every possible way with passive healing and like Mystic Boost. I absolutely love this unit, and you should have a copy. I mean, she's just absolutely amazing. We start to get into the miscellaneous things that you can get. Cornelia is worth mentioning because that keeping basically flashing opponents from across the screen is absolutely fantastic. Down on the very low rung, I have units like, well, some of these are just older units, but I do have Peony down here. Understand that for the most part, I don't like units that only heal when they attack or when someone else attacks, because I like to be able to stall, to basically take my units over to a corner while one unit's left and get everyone healed up before I heal that one last unit, and then we can move on. These are all still good. If your unit doesn't have a preference staff, they're in the same tier all below this, and you can make them work, but they aren't bringing something special to the team. It doesn't mean they're not good, and this is a mode 4 favorite, so understand that. Just looking at several passive healer builds that you can do, we've got air on there, and Mystic Boost, or Sparkling Boost rather, is healing 20 HP per turn, which is huge. huge. We've got 10 HP for Repo on Emir, and we talked about how this unit is very serviceable and can actually perform as a combat unit, particularly in a PvE place. If you have Rayson already built up, I think he's fantastic. 7 HP per turn isn't the best, but the fact that he can also function as a healer and has a serviceable attack stat if you add in all of the extra stuff, like that is, it's something like that. That's it's good. So let's talk a little bit about refreshers, and we're going to stop here with our tier list. Like, we've already gone over the individual Fire Emblem games and the bonus units and just highlights from them. When you're choosing those, though, it's a matter of what's in your barracks and what's your favorite unit. Like, that's really what we're going up against. A lot of you, though, have tons of healers and tons of refreshers, and looking at these, I think Ninian is probably the best in the game because she can perform so well as a combat unit, has that counter disrupt skill inside of her kit. She's just a fantastic unit, and she keeps everything that makes her fantastic just by default, which is phenomenal. And yeah, this unit is absolutely fantastic and keeps gaining things. I have the Azuras next. Particularly, this is interesting that I have Legendary above Hatari, and the big deal there is the triangle advantage that already comes, or the triangle adapt rather, that already comes with Azura, and that makes her a very good combat unit in this mode, on top of being a refresher that gives an extra movement to a unit, and that makes her and Atari Zura, who also hands out buffs, very, very good. Understand you're not going to have the same kind of counterplay with like an Ether Raids, where you're always worried about buffing a unit because panic is coming. This is a mode where you freely stack stats without impunity, so any way you can do it is phenomenal. Next up, we have Peony with all of the things that her refine came. Spring Triandra with penalty doubler is fantastic. And then Duo Peony, because orders is good and +6 to attack is also really good. We get into two refreshers though in Crom and Crom. The Brave and the Duo version. And I'm a huge fan of both of these, and I think they can do a lot of damage. You can have a lot of fun with them. We already saw in the FEH channel the stacked Crom with the 3 levels of things and 2 different distant counters and all of that, and that's something fun you can do with this unit, as well as add bonuses through all of the crazy different things that are being added in a bonus-wise to this unit that increases his stats. So moving down from 1 to 2, there's a bit of a bump, and Triandra and Plumeria are both excellent dancers, and Crom, Fallen Crom is an excellent refresher, but they just don't have the same amount of things as the units above them. Understand that Triandra and Plumeria, their refines are coming, so once they do, they will probably bump up. You've got Ninian here, Fallen Ninian, who can do some really fun things and in giving dragons an extra space to move, which is fantastic. You've also got Legendary Crom, who's just about to get his refine and probably will bump up after that. Next down, we have the Lucinas, and I know I'm going to get hate mail from TTM on this. This doesn't mean they're bad units. I like the Change of Fate skills better than I like their swap version. So just because you can, in this particular mode, you can cover more ground. Now understand the problem with the change fate and their variants is you get isolated, whereas for both the Lucinas you can just keep using it over and over, which there are some advantages to and can make for some really fun shenanigans. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. I think this is all of the preference weapon dancers, by the way. Lastly, for tier 4, these are all good units, and if you have them built up, you can use them and have fun. Dorothea not being able to use the dual skill, that's such a huge hit for her, or harmonic skill rather. But I mean, you've got units like Reinhardt here. Dancer Reinhardt can Brave hit, which is fantastic, and Micaiah has effective damage versus armors, which is also fantastic. So all fun units, but if you understand that whenever you are including your favorites, the weaker your favorite is, the higher on these tier lists that you need to pick other units to support them. So that's really why we want to do this. Like if your favorite is Alphonse, you're probably going to want to pair him with Maria because he's going to need it, and Ninian because you need extra things coming from that unit and they are going to help, and Ninian or the Azuras. So keep that in mind. All right, last but not least, I just wanted to go over some matches here and just run this all the way through our last matchup and just show a little bit of gameplay. So we're going to go through that. You guys have already seen this team. This team is busted as all get out. Now, questions start to arise though. Can we tank Aluin with Forsetti? I mean, we have a lot of stuff going for us, so let's try it out. Why not? All right, let's fight. Take you over here. Prepare for healing next time, but I'm not ready for you to go all the way in. So this is a unit that would normally be very weak to magic damage, and you're gonna see this, yeah, 0. That's just nutty. This is the great times that's coming to us all, right? So we've got a red there. I mean, really, we want to see if this green can take them out, right? So, and you can see there's still, like, things are still happening. Remember that Nui has a lot built on bonuses that the opponent has, and Robin is obviously about the exact opposite of that. So green still does beat red if it's powerful enough, and Robin is a very powerful unit. All right, and we're gonna leave you there and just have you tank.
Let's go say hello.
There. Here we go. That's interesting. I forgot that Nudge didn't work while Chrom was isolated. Something that I'm going to have to remember. Oof, all of 8 damage. Whatever am I going to do? All right, this is what we talked about before, where now we've got this unit sitting here, and we can stall a little bit and see if we can get everyone healed up before they come in. So we get Chrom healed, we get Robin healed, and whoopam. 98 times 2 coming in. It's not 99. Like, we would have liked 99, but we take what we can get. But you can see how with the right team, like, these fly by. We're just gonna jump right in because I know you guys are tired of me looking at me doing stuff. Now, the big problem here is Maribel and the shenanigans that she pulls. We're gonna do basically the same maneuver that we've been doing by putting Robin up front, Chrom right behind, and shenanigans ensue. Because of these units and the way they're set up, I really want to take out Roy first. And this is... I'm kind of underselling with this how powerful Roy has been, and maybe this is a better way to look at it. Like, that is not a lot of damage for a unit that is coming in with Special Spiral and Ruptured Sky. So there's no DR happening there except for the flat DR, and that's the kind of thing that we're seeing. So, I'm going to go ahead and let Roy just absolutely blast. I get blasted by Chrom.
Is there a problem?
And see Maribel. Summoners, don't be... If you're having a hard time with this, understand that this is not my first time through. Like, I've literally been through this 7 times now. This is my 8th time. So just understand that. Like, there is... This is not a thing where I have played this map so many times now that I know exactly what's going to happen. So, yeah, don't feel bad. Also, these are some very decked out units. This is probably about as optimal as you guys we talked about. Yeah, see, no one's doing any damage. This is absolutely fantastic. This is kind of how the gameplay is going though, especially at this phase, it's fairly quick. I do expect for things to get much harder as we go on. All right, if we can, we're gonna let Maria finish this off there. Yeah, 23 times 4. Go get him, Maria. Kablamo. I love this. Summoners, I'm having so much fun with this mode. There are a lot of opportunities to look at a lot of different things that you wouldn't see in the game, and it's expanding on spaces that have already existed, but allowing you to treat them differently. And I'm a fan. All right, and we saw that, and now the skill is unlocked, so you can go through here. Keep in mind we have 14,000 rift vessels saved up, so we could have stopped at one of those the Veneer seals and gotten more stuff. We didn't because we're going fast. So that's where we're at. If you want to see how the rewind works and just a proof of that, all we have to do is go through here. That is not rewind. All we have to do is go through here, return to beginning, unwind, and you see we take 7,127 of those. So, yeah. You notice that is not 20% of that number there. That is 20% of what we earned this time, which is kind of cool. So something to keep in mind, and especially if you feel like farming. Just to show you guys, sorry. We're back. All of those went into our green seals. We can change teams. We can go through and do more stuff. So yeah, Summoners, it's a great mode. Okay, last thing, just some quick game tips here. Keep rearranging your skills, keep trying different combinations. Understand this is the chance you have to try out things that you can't afford to. Think about it that way. Like, you don't have guidance for, but suddenly it comes up as a skill you can buy. You can try it out on a unit and see if you actually like it. That's really neat. Bonus units are more valuable as the game goes on. You saw that first team I had, I didn't use bonus units, and it didn't really matter because through the first 10 rifts, we didn't have enough skills to fill them up anyway. But at the end there, you can definitely see with the second team where there are spots where I can start filling in and having different combinations, and bonus units let you do so much more. They really are a boon. Plan your routes carefully, and this is huge. We talked about this, but just going through and looking at the different spots you want, the different seals that you need, and if you want a challenge, if you want harder maps, then you can plan through that, or if you want easier ones, you can plan through that as well. Just keep that in mind as you're going through, and mix and match your teams. Remember, you want different colors, you want different roles. You don't want a team of all enemy phase units. So, Summoners, I hope you enjoy this. I am absolutely loving this game mode, and I hope this is helpful. Real quickly, I'd like to thank the members, and they just let me do so many more fun things with the channel. They let me experiment with more combinations. They let me do stuff like get in here and actually try to play with this for an entire day. So you guys are absolutely amazing, and yeah, if you'd like to become a member and support, you can do that. Understand that supporting by just giving a thumbs up is absolutely fantastic as well. Take care, and schedule an appointment with your FEHologist real soon.